Jax's revenge domain.
I had 3 minutes left in my presentation when Justin leaned in behind me and whispered just loud enough for the front row to hear, "Don't screw this up, old man." His breath smelled like energy drinks and desperation. I didn't turn around, just clicked to the next slide. The name's Ryan Mitchell, by the way, 47 years old, and I've been building tech products since Justin was learning his multiplication tables. The live metrics were beautiful. AI performance benchmarks ticking up in real time on the big screen. This was the kind of demo you spend 22 years preparing for. In the corner of my monitor, I could see the attendee list. 20 investors, including 4 from Northbridge Capital. Cameras off, mics muted, but they were watching every pixel. Outside the glass conference room, people hovered like sharks smelling blood. PR, legal, finance teams. Even Scott Thompson, our board chair, had planted himself against the back wall, arms crossed, watching me like I was a racehorse he'd mortgaged, his house on. I straightened my tie and spoke into the microphone. "This is our final model iteration before production release. You're seeing real-time inference across our complete dataset. Click. Next slide." Which brings us to projected efficiency at full-scale deployment. The slide changed. My chart vanished. Justin had hijacked the feed like a kid snatching a remote control. I turned slowly. He was grinning like someone who'd just keyed your car and wanted applause for the penmanship. "Sorry," he said, not looking sorry at all. "Thought I'd jump in here to discuss vision and strategic positioning." And there it was. I'd seen this move before. Young MBAs always wanted to jump in. Problem was, they never knew how to land. Now listen, before we go any further, if this story already has your blood pressure climbing, you're in good company. These corporate disasters happen more than you'd think, and somebody needs to tell the real stories. Anyway, I kept calm. Let Justin burn through his 3-minute ego trip. All vague nonsense about synergies and next-generation paradigms. I nodded along like he was showing me crayon drawings on the refrigerator. When he finally ran out of buzzwords, I took the clicker back and said, "Let's bring this home strong." And we did. The demo closed like a dream. Real numbers, real interest. I even caught a thumbs-up emoji from one of the muted investor boxes. I didn't smile. Didn't celebrate. But my gut was already whispering warnings. Justin had been gunning for me since day 1 of his hire. He'd say things like, "We need to evolve our org structure. Some people have legacy mindsets," whatever that meant. He'd asked for my project files 3 times in the past week, got himself added to our Dev Slack channel, and started questioning architecture decisions he couldn't spell, let alone understand. Last month, he introduced me to a client as one of our engineers, even though I'd been leading product development since before he graduated. Business school. 22 years in this industry teaches you to recognize the signs, the subtle dismissals, the credit theft, the slow squeeze. It was the kind of corporate foreplay you get right before the knife goes between your ribs. I'd stayed late the night before demo day, cleaned up the code repository, handed sanitized versions to legal, locked my core architecture files in a private vault. Good thing, because as I walked out to refill my coffee, I heard Justin whispering to Scott near the printer. "After today," Justin said, "we make the transition." I didn't stop walking. Didn't turn around, just kept moving like I hadn't heard anything. But inside, something old and careful in me started paying attention. Not panic, not anger, calculation. I went back to my desk, pulled out the printed contract I kept in my bottom drawer, and flipped to the page I knew by heart. Section 4.2b, Personnel Requirements. There it was, my name in black ink. Legal gold. Let him try. The next slide was simple. Bullet points for Q&A. Deployment timeline. Risk assessment. Licensing options. I clicked forward, opened my mouth to speak. That's enough. At first, I thought I'd misheard. My brain searched for some reasonable translation. Maybe he wanted to handle questions. Maybe he was calling time. But then Justin stepped into camera frame, microphone live, voice sharp as a blade. "You're fired. Pack up and leave. Now." Silence. You could have heard an email notification in Tokyo. I blinked once. Just once. He didn't even look unsure about it. Stood there with the dumb confidence of a man who'd never built anything real, but thought an MBA made him a visionary. The screen behind us froze on my last slide. Deployment Q4 2026. Pending stability review. The irony tasted like copper pennies. I didn't argue, didn't ask for clarification. I just set the clicker down on the table like I was placing flowers on a grave and walked off stage. My footsteps didn't echo. They thudded, steady, and final. The board didn't stop me. Scott looked like someone had just shot his dog. Legal blinked like they'd short-circuited. Nobody moved. The investors stayed muted. 20 black squares with initials inside, staring back like a jury that hadn't expected murder in the opening statement. I walked out of that room without slamming the door. Didn't cry, didn't shout. Just kept walking until I hit the parking garage. By the time I reached my car, my phone was buzzing like an angry wasp. Slack access revoked. Email cut off. Company phone disconnected mid-vibration. My digital life went dark in under 60 seconds. I drove to the coffee shop I used to work at during college. Same crooked tables, same smell of burnt espresso, and dreams deferred. I sat in the corner booth and pulled out my personal laptop. Muscle memory, habit, and strategy. I opened that contract. Section 4.2b, still there, still binding. No amendments filed. No replacement documentation. I checked the timestamp. Still valid. Still legally radioactive. That's when the absurdity hit me. Justin really thought this was about ego. About who got credit for the demo. Who looked good in front of the money. He had no idea that I wasn't just the face of this AI project. I was the legal requirement. The binding condition. The tripwire. The moment he said, "You're fired," he'd started a countdown. And nobody, not legal, not the board, not even Justin, understood what he'd just detonated. The live stream kept running for another 10 minutes after I left. I watched the replay later on my cracked phone screen. There was this long, digital silence, one of those voids that screams louder than actual noise. Justin stood there blinking at the camera, still facing the room like he hadn't just decapitated the entire pitch in front of 20 silent financiers. Then came the click. Someone unmuted. "Where's Ryan?" Male voice, clipped, maybe late 50s. You could hear a pen tapping. That was Kevin Foster, senior partner at North Bridge. The man who'd flown out from New York just to walk through our prototype last month. He didn't sound angry. Yet. Just confused. The dangerous kind of confused. Justin let out a small chuckle, like someone trying to charm their way through airport security with a knife in their carry-on. "We're implementing a strategic leadership realignment," he said, hands spread like he was presenting wedding cake. Ryan's transition was already scheduled. Today's demo was the final handoff. Another unmute. Was he informed of that? Woman's voice this time. "Lindsay Davis from Hide-Eyed Ventures, because it looked like you blindsided him mid-sentence." Justin's eyes darted for just a second. Then he doubled down. It was always the plan to introduce fresh vision during investor presentations. Ryan's a talented engineer, but we're pivoting toward— "You might want to stop talking," Kevin said. Then came the moment. The actual moment. Kevin shared his screen. There it was, our term sheet, North Bridge's logo stamped in the upper left corner. A highlight box glowed around Section 3.4, Clause 4.2b. Continued funding disbursement is contingent upon ongoing employment of key personnel. Ryan Mitchell, Chief Product Lead. Kevin didn't say anything else. Just let the highlight sit there glowing like a lit fuse. I'm told Scott leaned forward so fast his glasses hit the table. PR whispered something urgent to legal. Legal didn't whisper back. Justin, to his credit, didn't visibly sweat, but his jaw twitched once. He opened his mouth. Another participant unmuted. "Did you terminate a named officer without board notification?" Deeper voice this time. One of the silent money types. Black square labeled I. "Wells, Iona Capital. No camera, no nonsense." Justin hesitated. "I acted within my operational authority." "Who signed the amendment to the term sheet?" Kevin again. "Calm now. Too calm." Justin blinked. "We're finalizing transition documentation. Legal is reviewing. There is no amendment," Lindsay said. "We have the latest filing on record." Inside the room, chairs shifted. Someone coughed. PR dropped her phone, trying to reach the mute button. Justin raised his hands like Moses before the Red Sea. "Let's take a breath here. This isn't a breach situation. It's restructuring." Ryan wasn't irreplaceable. "The text speaks for itself," Kevin interrupted, "and our money doesn't move without it." Silence again. Not empty this time. Pregnant, like something large was slowly turning its head in the dark. Meanwhile, I sat in that coffee shop across town, watching it unfold in real time on the replay feed. I sipped lukewarm coffee and refreshed my email. Nothing yet. They hadn't figured out how deep this rabbit hole went, but they were falling in, one confused investor at a time. The barista asked if I wanted a refill. I nodded, not even tasting the coffee anymore. My phone propped against the salt shaker, screen cracked but functional. I scrubbed backward on the replay, rewatching the moment Justin said it. "You're fired." I watched my own face stay perfectly still, the way someone looks when they realize they're not in a meeting anymore. They're in a trap. A text buzzed through from Melissa Reynolds, my lawyer for 10 years, and the closest thing I had to a guardian angel. "Ryan, you were named as key personnel. They didn't file amendment, not just personnel, officer of record. Page 14, Exhibit B. Want blood or money?" I didn't answer yet. Across town, I imagined Justin standing in front of the board, trying to wrap what remained of his dignity in phrases like agile repositioning and leadership evolution. You know what 22 years in corporate America teaches you? The difference between confidence and competence. Justin had one, I had the other. And in the end, contracts don't care about your PowerPoint skills. The compliance call was scheduled for 9 a.m. sharp the next morning. No calendar invite, just a single-line email from Northbridge's managing partner. "Let's clarify chain of authority before proceeding. Counsel to attend." Translation: no more lies. No more spin. Bring your legal team or bring a shovel. Back at headquarters, they scrambled. I could practically hear the panic echoing through the executive floor. Interns rifling through PDFs, half-asleep general counsel squinting at embedded footnotes. That morning, someone finally opened the folder labeled Term Sheet, Final Executed. And there it was, Clause 4.2b, bright as neon and legally bulletproof. Continued disbursement of investment funds contingent upon uninterrupted employment of key personnel. Ryan Mitchell, Chief Product Lead. Any change in designation, role, or employment status must be disclosed and amended in writing no fewer than 30 days prior to implementation. Failure to comply constitutes material breach subject to immediate fund suspension. No ambiguity, no wiggle room, no strategic realignment loophole. Just my name, inked into the spine of a $25 million deal. Around 9:12 a.m., my phone rang. Not Melissa's number, just Scott Thompson lighting up my screen. "Ryan," he said, voice tight like someone trying not to lose his composure in a glass office. "Quick question about this clause 4.2b. Were you aware of it?" I took a breath, let it out slow. I had all the time in the world. Of course I was. I wrote it. Silence. "You wrote it?" "Part of the IP retention strategy. You remember? The one I pitched to legal when we revised officer designations to protect core architecture from executive turnover? You approved it. So did counsel. I included it in the October 12th board packet. You even asked if it was enforceable." "I see," Scott said finally. "Okay." He hung up without saying goodbye. By midweek, the spin machine wheezed to life. Internal memo circulated at 6:42 a.m. titled Leadership Evolution Brief. Pure buzzword soup, cooked up by sleepless PR and panicked Justin. It described a dynamic cultural shift and reassessment of role alignment. Without naming names, it strongly implied that Ryan Mitchell had struggled with collaborative adaptability and strategic vision coordination. In human terms, I didn't play nice with micromanaging MBAs who thought PowerPoint was a business strategy. Within an hour, a second document started making rounds. Less polished, marked internal use only, with phrases like increasingly resistant, territorial behavior, and my personal favorite, legacy thinking patterns. It was laughable and desperate. The term sheet clause had sucked all oxygen out of their strategy room. HR wouldn't back Justin's claims. Too risky. Legal had gone completely dark. PR issued a non-update to investors about aligned leadership frameworks, which is corporate speak for, we broke the engine and were duct taping the steering wheel. Investor relations wasn't having it. At 10:17 a.m., they sent a direct note to board and C-suite. Please explain rationale and process for leadership transition during live demonstration. Investors require clarity on succession planning and personnel compliance. Response requested within 24 hours. The please was cosmetic. At exactly 11:04 a.m., one simple document hit every address in our officer notification protocol. Notice of material breach, Clause 4.2b, Section 3.4. Signed, time-stamped, irrevocable. A digital whisper with the power of a wrecking ball. I didn't call anyone, didn't email, didn't post cryptic quotes on LinkedIn. Just stayed quiet. Silence, I've learned, frightens people more than shouting. Silence says you know exactly what you're doing, and you don't need permission to do it. The Zoom call opened with 6 black boxes and 1 camera. Fresh-faced paralegal from Dorr and Finch, barely 25, framed in an overly bright home office. The rest stayed dark, names only. You could smell the NDAs through the internet. Justin logged in 5 minutes late. Not a great omen. His profile picture, cropped from some yacht party, flashed next to Justin Parker. EVP strategy smart. Move keeping his camera off. They didn't want his face. They wanted receipts. "Let's begin," said Kevin's dry voice. "We've convened this call to formally address a compliance issue tied to our executed term sheet. Specifically, personnel requirements under 4.2b. As you know, disbursement is suspended pending clarification. A soft ding. B. Cole, Compliance Counsel, Ayana Capital joined. No camera, no sound, just presence, like a ghost with subpoena power. I'd like to preface," Justin started. "Stop," Lindsay from Hyde-Eyed cut him off. "We're not here for narratives. We're here for documentation. Did you authorize termination of Ryan Mitchell?" Pause. "Yes, but as part of strategic..." Was the board informed in writing? "I spoke to several members informally. That's not an answer. Was written notice filed?" Silence. "Was there 30-day advance notification?" More silence. Kevin shared his screen again. The original term sheet, cursor hovering over my name under bright yellow highlight, mandatory. Retention. Ryan Mitchell. Chief Product Lead. If there was no amendment and no written notice, then this termination qualifies as material breach. Justin tried to recover. Ryan had become obstructive, wasn't collaborative. He was undermining team cohesion. "Based on what documentation?" Lindsay asked. "Emails? Performance reviews? Board minutes? We're consolidating evidence. From whom was there verbal consensus?" Click. Someone else joined. S. Thompson, board chair. Scott didn't speak. Just sat there like a parent arriving after the window got broken. The room didn't get tenser. It calcified. The motion came 23 minutes in. No grand speech, no theatrics. Given the unresolved breach and lack of documented process, I'm formally moving to suspend the term sheet pending legal resolution and risk mitigation. This includes withholding the next disbursement tranche. It hit like lightning in a vacuum. No one asked for a second. It didn't need one. 25 million, gone. Just like that, behind the scenes, the board erupted. Emergency calls, frantic emails, the kind of corporate meltdown that happens when you realize you've been betting someone else's money on a con man's promise. Justin tried damage control, but when you're explaining why you violated a legally binding contract on live video, you're not controlling anything. You're drowning. Experience teaches you something business school doesn't. When the house is burning down, the people with the fire extinguishers don't negotiate with the guy who lit the match. They eliminate him. My phone rang that afternoon. Scott again. "Ryan, would you consider returning for continuity purposes?" He didn't apologize. Didn't admit fault. Just dangled the olive branch like a man trying to put out a house fire with a damp cloth. I paused just long enough for it to land. Under revised terms. I want full operational control of product and engineering. I want Justin out. And I want it in writing that no employment changes occur without 2/3 board approval. Another pause. "Let me take that to council." "Clock's ticking," I said. Because while they scrambled to unbreak Justin's disaster, I was already 10 moves ahead. Here's the truth. I didn't want my old job back. I wanted the power they'd accidentally given me when they let Justin open his mouth in front of 20 investors. The breach clause wasn't just protection. It was leverage. The investor conference room felt different when I walked back in. Colder, more glass than soul. They'd remodeled recently. Sleek black table instead of oak, like a coffin trying to cosplay as innovation. Scott stood by the wall, arms folded, eyes darting between door and screen like a man waiting for judgment. I walked through the west elevator, not the main corridor. Melissa followed half a step behind in her navy suit that said, I don't negotiate with middle management. The room quieted. No greetings, no shuffled chairs, just heads turning and pulses adjusting. I didn't sit at the demo table or return to my old spot with its missing nameplate. Instead, I walked to the head of the room and sat down. Melissa placed her folder on the glass. Everyone stared. Kevin leaned back, tie loose, no smile. We're gathered to determine next steps regarding interim executive structure and term compliance. He glanced at Justin, who'd slithered in through the side door. I'm sorry. Who are you? Justin blinked like a deer caught mid-lie. Justin Parker, Executive VP Strategy. Nobody voted you acting anything, Lindsay said, not looking up from her tablet. Kevin turned back to me. Mr. Mitchell, are you ready to resume operations in an interim CEO capacity while we conduct necessary restructuring? I didn't smile, just nodded once. Pending execution of revised agreements. Quiet knock at the door. Security. 2 of them, polite but unmistakable in business black. Mr. Parker, please come with us. You've been relieved of duties pending review. Justin tried to speak, but Lindsay raised one hand like a teacher calling for quiet. Justin. Go. He went quietly. No slamming doors, no last words. Just a man who'd bet everything on a bluff and hadn't known the table was rigged before he sat down. I stood. Melissa distributed documents, revised terms. We'll need digital signatures within the hour. Kevin allowed himself the barest smirk. Let's not make the same mistake twice. I walked out without looking back. Same building, same hallways, but this time I didn't turn toward the bullpen. I took the stairs up. At the keycard panel, I swiped the new badge Scott had slid across the table. Green light. Door clicked open. Just like that, I stepped into the corner office. Not because I'd clawed my way back, but because their own paper trail had built a throne with my name on it. They'd handed me power. All I did was pick it up. 6 months later, I'm sitting in that same corner office, watching the quarterly numbers roll in. We landed the government contract Justin never knew existed. Hired 50 new people. Most of them experienced professionals who understand that building something real takes more than buzzwords and PowerPoint magic. The AI system is deployed in 12 major corporations now. Real results. Not demo theater. Justin's LinkedIn profile says he's exploring new opportunities in strategic consulting. Corporate speak for unemployed. Word travels fast in our industry. When you blow up a $25 million deal because you can't control your ego, people remember. The board asked me to recommend my successor last month. I chose Sarah Kim, 15 years experience, MIT PhD. Someone who understands both the technology and the business. No MBA required. You know what 22 years in corporate America really teaches you? That the best revenge isn't getting even, it's getting ahead. Building something that outlasts the people who tried to tear you down. I'm training Sarah personally, showing her not just the technical side, but the political landscape, the investor, relationships, the contract details that matter. The things they don't teach in business school. Why are you stepping down? She asked me yesterday. Because I proved my point, I told her. And because this company needs someone who wants to be here for the right reasons. I'll stay on as advisor, help with the transition, make sure the continuity clauses protect her the way they protected me. But my main job is done. The demo where Justin fired me has become something of a legend around here. New employees watch it during orientation, not to mock him, but to understand what happens when you mistake authority for competence. Scott Thompson resigned quietly last month, said he wanted to pursue other interests. Translation: the board finally realized he'd enabled the whole disaster by not reading the contracts he was approving. Kevin Foster from North Bridge called me personally to congratulate us on the quarterly results. "Best investment we've made in years," he said. "Glad we stuck with experience over flash." I drove past that coffee shop yesterday, the one where I sat plotting my comeback. Same crooked tables, same smell of burnt espresso. The barista who kept refilling my cup probably has no idea he helped fuel the most satisfying corporate takedown I've ever witnessed. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Justin had just stayed quiet. Let me finish the demo, taken his victory lap afterward. He might still be here. Might have learned something. But men like Justin don't learn. They only take. And when you build your career on taking credit for other people's work, eventually you run out of people willing to let you. The new office nameplates went up today. Sarah Kim, Chief Executive Officer. She'll do fine. Better than fine. And me? I'm thinking about that vacation I've been putting off for 22 years. Sometimes the best revenge is simply knowing when to walk away. On your own terms, with your head high, and with the company in better hands than when you found it. Here's what they don't teach you in business school. Competence is quiet, but it's also permanent. Flash fades, but the work you build with your own hands, that lasts forever.